Philip, are picks for you part of the cost of doing business in the NFL? Are they opportunities to kind of learn and adjust?
No, I mean it is part of life in the NFL. You hope there's just not very many. And while there's been more than I would have liked the past handful of years overall in my career, it's not been an issue. So I don't expect it to be one this year moving forward.
Olivia Ray.
Well, obviously you haven't carried the ball much, but you have seen a lot in the game of football. So what advice can you give to Jonathan Taylor as he prepares to move into this starting role here?
Well, I think like every position, the more and more experience you have and the more you play, the more you improve and more confidence you get as you move forward. But he's had a great training camp. We obviously know the career he had in college, and I thought he got off to a heck of a start last week. So, he's prepared, and he's got a good running back room. Obviously Marlon was great for him. Certainly hate to lose Marlon, but Jordan and Naheem in there with him as well. It's a good room, and Coach Rathman is a heck of a coach. So Jordan will step up, and that room will step up, and fill a big void that will be left with the loss of Marlon.
Kevin Bone.
Philip, how much do you talk to Xavier Rhodes this week and try to pick his brain on personnel and scheme and things like that?
Yeah, I usually try to go about the week normal, and then, as the week goes, I'm sure we'll have a conversation or two. I think I'm always a little careful to do too much of that, just because I think it works both ways, right? They know he's here too. So, I mean, and you never know how much they've tweaked. I mean, this offseason especially, you just never know. So, but more so maybe like you said, personnel wise, what guys, just being around guys, right? Knowing what routes they don't like, which ones they defend better than others, little things like that. Since we don't have a ton of current, this year's tape, it's all off last year's except for last week. But yeah, I usually try to go through the normal preparation, study what you see, and then have some of those conversations as the week goes.
Hey, Philip, can you talk some more about your running back room? We've talked about obviously Marlon and Naheem and Jonathan, but just what you've seen out of Jordan too, because he's going to obviously move up on a depth chart to play with Marlon being back. Yeah,
Jordan's a good football player. Obviously, first time being around him this year is training camp, and we got together at one time in June. But he had a heck of a camp as well. So he has similar. He kind of has a mixture style wise, really, of all three. I feel like he catches the ball well. He certainly is big and strong and can run. So again, you hate to lose Marlon, man. It's different for me having not been around these guys, in previous years, but Marlon looked awesome. Just too bad, and feel for him that he's not going to be out there personally, and obviously how it affects us. But again, we do have a solid room and a lot of talent in that room, and those guys will collectively find a way to pick up the slack and keep us on track in both the run and the pass game.
Zach Kiefer.
Phil, this is not something on your mind this week. I think you're fifth all-time in yards or sixth in touchdowns. You're pretty close to climbing in the top five in those categories. What is the thing that you take the most pride in of all those accomplishments? And someone told me that it was probably your consecutive starts. Is that the thing that you're most proud of, or what jumps out at you in all that stuff?
Yeah, I would say whoever told you that's probably right. I mean, I always thought there for a while I played in 51 straight in college, and I don't know if that still stands, but there for a while it did. They play so many games now. I don't know if it does. And I always, just thought that Favre's record was unbelievable and awesome, and certainly, Peyton was right there behind him as well. But, a lot goes into that. Certainly, I feel very thankful. I've been blessed with good enough health to be out there every week. But I do think that's probably the one that maybe means the most in a lot of ways. I think you mentioned some of the other things. I think it's more so, I guess, just the company that I don't know if company may not be the word, but just seeing some of those guys that I literally had posters of on my wall as a child, and to think you're kind of again in some ways in the mix with those guys in certain categories. But honestly, yeah, you said it first. I don't really think about those things when you're in the thick of it. I'm still aggravated about last week, to be honest with you. I have moved on, but still a little bit aggravated, which hopefully a little bit of that saltiness can carry over into us playing better this week. But ultimately, it's really about winning. That's really the one that wasn't what you asked, but that's what matters the most, is finding a way to help lead the team to a win, whatever that means. If that means 80 yards passing and hand it off 55 times, then let's do that. If it needs something different, then let's do that. But that's really where our focus is now, is finding a way to be 1-0 this week.
Joel Erickson.
Philip, what have you seen out of Parris Campbell that made him such a prolific receiver the first week you were looking
well, I think with Parris, I think with Parris too, I always felt like he was a 4th, 5th year guy. I don't know why. And then you realize it's his second year, and in his first year he had so many injuries and didn't play a ton. So, the ceiling's so high for him. The sky's the limit. He's a strong, fast guy, and you saw some of that last week in some of those deep overs he called, and the reverse and some other things as well. So he'll continue to be a big part of the offense moving forward, and just another aspect, another weapon from a skill position standpoint.
Anthony Calhoun.
Hey, Philip. There are going to be fans in the stands on Sunday. How excited are you to play the home opener, and obviously you'll be in front of some Colts fans?
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Certainly wish there's about 58,000 more than there's allowed to be in there. But it'll be good. It'll be good to be at home. And again, we want to bounce back from last week. And it's a long season, but it'll be exciting to be at Lucas Oil and playing in our stadium, first home game. And again, what fans can be in there, I'm sure they'll be excited to be in there, and we look forward to it as well. But this season's a long year. I think Frank mentioned it. I know he mentioned it to us. I feel he probably mentioned it to you guys as well. We don't want to ride the wave of this year, ups and downs that are going to come. We got to just stay focused. If you knew what the outcome was going to be come January, first week of January, then how would we go about this week differently? So I think that's the key, is we don't know. You don't know what's to come. You don't know when you're going to win the next 15, or when you're going to lose again, or what. You just got to be here on Wednesday, focus on this day, and how can we get better regardless of what happened last week. I think that's the biggest thing, is that mental toughness and focus, that had we won that game last week, we're still the same guys sitting in here on Wednesday. And so how mentally mature and tough are we to prepare and go about each and every week, regardless of the previous week's outcome, good or bad, and sustain that for 17 weeks.
We'll go 2 more. George Bremer.
Well, you kind of touched on this right at the end of the last question, was you don't have the Nuke Cheppy head on today, but obviously that begin again philosophy has been a big part of your career so far. Does that kind of mesh with 1-0 that Frank Reich speaks about, and do you see that philosophy already kind of existing in this locker room?
Yeah, there's no question. Yeah, I don't have my normal one on, but it's on here. It's on there. It's usually always somewhere. Absolutely. I think it applies all the time, week to week, game to game, play to play. It applied the other day in the game after an interception, after the first drive touchdown. We got to begin again. That last touchdown's gone. And absolutely, I do think it resonates in this locker room. I think it resonates in life in general. You're always beginning again, and can't get too high or too low. I think you got to make sure you begin again when things are good, and not just when you have a bump in the road. And 16 teams are taking the field today at practice undefeated, and the other 16 are 0-1. So that's this league. We know this league is going to be one-score games and ups and downs throughout the whole year. The only thing that happened on Sunday, the only thing that's different about our season now than was before Sunday is we can't win them all. And other than that, everything's still out there. It'll all still be out there for a good while. And so we just got to, again, I know it's boring. I know it's boring on the outside, but it's that one-day approach and one day at a time, one play at a time, and just keep our head down and work.
All right, last one, Phil B.
Philip, I wanted to ask you about film study. Is there anything you can take from facing the Vikings last year?
Yeah, that game, like so many others last year, was I believe it was a 12-10 game, and we were driving to take the lead before half, and had a sack fumble. They ran back for a touchdown, and it spun out of control from there. So there was a couple turnovers in that game that hurt. Two came really late in desperation when we were, probably should have been handing it off, but we were for some reason we wanted to push it down the field a little more. But they're a good team. They're a good team. We're a good team. Again, both teams didn't play probably the way they wanted to last week. All throughout. Obviously, both teams didn't because we didn't come away with a win. So you got two good football teams on Sunday. This defense is always challenging. Coach Zimmer does a heck of a job with the defensive schemes. Played against his team so many times, both when he was in Cincinnati and a couple times, obviously, in Minnesota. So they got really good players, heck of a secondary, those two inside linebackers. Obviously, defensive end we know well from his time in Jacksonville. So it's a heck of a challenge for us. We'll have to be better than we were last week, to say the least. But I think we're going to, have a great week of preparation and be up for the challenge.